It's been clarified many times, despite being in the Titanfall universe, Apex isn't a Titanfall game. But lately, it feels like that's started to change, because Apex has been receiving a lot of Titanfall features. So, let's take a look at all of these post-launch Titanfall features that return to Apex, and tier list them to find the best one. Starting off pretty recently, wall running was added to Apex in the Galactic Games update as a wildcard ability, which means you could essentially add it as an extra legend passive, and while you were wall running you could use your guns. It was basically exactly the same as Titanfall, to the point where it would even speed up your character. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't the first time we've had wall running in Apex, as Respawn added it in Shadow Royale, but this is the first time it's been added in its proper form, and it is amazing, because the wildcard map supports it with several big walls around the map, and it gives you a hefty speed boost, which when combined with new legend abilities like the Lifeline Glide, Ash Dash, or even Sparrow Double Jump, the wall running becomes not only very fun, but in some situations more powerful than it would have been in Titanfall 2. As you can combine wall running, and then double jumping, and then a dash all in one swoop, which is pretty awesome. So we're starting off strong. This is going in S tier because it was just such a perfect addition to the game, and it combines so well with existing abilities. Moving on though, despite Apex releasing with a lot of Titanfall weapons, Respawn have continued to add Titanfall weapons to Apex, like the EPG, the Volt, the L-Star, the Car, and the Charge Rifle. All of these were post-launch and have brought the game a bit closer to its Titanfall roots. It's pretty cool actually, because some of the recent Titanfall weapons Respawn have added to Apex have been kind of upgraded or modified versions of their Titanfall brothers, like the EPG. First added to Apex in Season 23, the Apex version of the EPG does a lot less self-inflicted damage and also throws the player from their own explosions a lot more, allowing the players to actually use the EPG as a movement tool as well as an effective weapon, which is cool. You could still do this back in Titanfall, but it wasn't as effective. Also, when Respawn added the Car SMG to Apex, they upgraded it a bit, and they changed the colour scheme of it, and gave it a unique function of being able to switch ammo types. So I would say the post-Apex launch Titanfall weapons were an awesome addition, and hardly any of them have missed, apart from the Charge Rifle. So these are going in B tier, because I would still love to see more of the Titanfall arsenal come to the game. Respawn have so many options. I wish they took a few more opportunities. Moving on though, what about Ash? Because believe it or not, it's not just Titanfall weapons that have made it to Apex, but also Titanfall characters. Ash was one of the many antagonists of Titanfall 2, but Respawn started to tease her introduction to Apex back in Season 5, where they had us, the players, rebuilding Ash, which was pretty cool and a crazy reveal, and then several seasons later she was added as a legend. When she came out as a legend, she was pretty mid honestly, and she didn't feel like a pilot coming to the games, but with her recent reworks that have literally put her on top of the game for several seasons now, she definitely fits the name of a pilot. Be it bad balancing or lore accurate gameplay, I think we can all agree she's been a lot more fun recently. So only because of the recent rework where Respawn gave her a dash, I'm gonna have to put her in A tier. The only reason she's not in S tier is because for some reason Respawn have not given Ash her OG Titanfall skin. I don't know why this hasn't been done, because so many people would pick this up just to play the pilot version of Ash. Although let's not get it twisted, because since release, 2 pilot classes from Titanfall 2 have actually been transferred into legends, with Octane and Rampart representing the Stim and AWOL classes respectively. Obviously, Octane is the Stim pilot from Titanfall, where he can inject himself with a green Stim to cause himself to have a speed boost, and Rampart is obviously based off the AWOL pilot from Titanfall because they can both place down the wall, which amplifies their bullet damage while protecting them. That being said, these days in modern Apex, these 2 legends are some of the most boring and useless legends in the game. Recently, in my comments, there's been an uptick of people asking for an Octane rework, and I really wouldn't be surprised if Respawn did one. We know recently Respawn have been making a big pivot into making legends fun and effective, and also giving them movement abilities when possible. For example, pretty much every new legend release lately has had a movement ability, and every mini legend rework has given them a movement ability as well. That or an anti-movement ability. So I feel like Octane must be seeing some sort of change soon, and same to Rampart. That being said, despite these two legends being a little bit extra of Titanfall injected into Apex after release, they're not the best legends in the game. Far from it actually, so these are unfortunately going into D tier. Although, keeping on legend abilities, in Season 25 of Apex, a major cornerstone of Titanfall finally made it into Apex. After years of asking, double jump was added, this time as part of Sparrow's kit. Not his main ability, but actually his passive, which is honestly really fun and balanced to use, and Sparrow's double jump is a bit more effective than the Titanfall double jump because he can also double jump off of walls, so he can actually scale buildings infinitely quicker than other legends, and also actual pilots. It is a shame that Sparrow double jump wasn't implemented on every single legend, but honestly, Apex has never been built around that and will never be built around that. It's kind of impossible. So seeing kind of a cornerstone of Titanfall making it onto at least one legend is fantastic. And with the new concept of wildcards, I feel like it's only a matter of time until we get a double jump wildcard. And let's not ignore the fact that Seer can currently do a double jump when inside the radius of an ultimate as well. So double jump is slowly making it further into Apex, and so far every implementation of it has been pretty fun and also pretty unique. It isn't just the Titanfall double jump straight up ported over, but there are interesting aspects when it is implemented into legend kits. So this is going to be another A tier. I feel like it would be S tier if at one point we did get a wildcard at one point, so we could experiment with combining the double jump with legend abilities like perhaps the Lifeline Glide or Revenant's Pounce. Speaking of the ultimate changes on Seer giving him a double jump, there's also another Titanfall feature that made it onto Seer's new ultimate changes, as ADS Hover, which was an ability in Titanfall 2 that you had to equip onto your pilot, is now possible. Now, this isn't the first time ADS Hover has been implemented into Apex, as it originally came out as a boost kit in Season 23, but it was only in the game briefly as people figured out how to glitch it. But now ADS Hover is officially part of the game on Seer's kit, and it's great to see another movement ability find a new permanent home in Apex. But it is kind of held back by feeling clunky sometimes, and in good faith I can't put it in the same tier as double jump and dash because simply it's a bit more divisive and a bit less fun than both of those. And also in Titanfall, nobody really used hover, so I'm going to put it into C, but maybe if Respawn added some actual visual effects to this to make it look a bit cooler, it could go up. But Respawn, keep adding little movement abilities like this because they are cool. Can the same thing be said for this next feature? Prowlers. Prowlers were originally a very big part of Titanfall 1 and Titanfall 2 as a big part of the campaign, as at the start of Titanfall 2, iconically, BT saves Jack Cooper from some Prowlers who are trying to drag him away to eat him. Prowlers actually came to Apex Legends permanently in Season 11 through the Stormpoint map, where throughout the Stormpoint map there were Prowler nests dotted around. These Prowler nests would spawn waves of Prowlers which would drop loot on death. And also, these marked the first permanent NPC enemies in Apex Legends, which weren't too invasive because they could only melee you, they obviously didn't have guns, and you could pretty much outrun them. So they basically acted as some pretty cool PvE optional side quests if you wanted to get some free items. Honestly, I think having NPC enemies which aren't too invasive throughout the Apex map are pretty cool, so I'm going to have to put Prowlers in the A tier, because they're very fun for people who don't immediately want to take fights with actual enemies, and they also have an actual purpose of dropping items and have been adjusted to be a bit less annoying over the years. Although at one point the Prowlers weren't the only NPC enemy which would attack you in Apex, as from Season 14 to Season 19, Stormpoint had a few locations called Armories throughout its map, and these Armories also acted as a pretty cool PvE experience, as within them they had a giant button, and when you pressed the button you would be locked inside the armory and waves of spectres would spawn and you could kill them for exclusive loot. These were actually a very powerful tool for high tier loot, and also a fun experience to do a bit of PvE and break up the monotony of fighting sweat. And believe it or not, spectres have been a pretty big part of the game since Titanfall 1 as PvE enemies. Throughout Titanfall 1 and 2, these enemies were scattered through the battlefield, which gave you two things to do to them. kill them or hack them. If you managed to hack one Spectre, its whole squad would be taken offline and then converted to your team to fight for you, which was a pretty cool thing, especially back in Titanfall 1. So seeing them come back in Apex Legends, especially as an optional PvE experience, was absolutely great, but once again, unfortunately these were removed in Season 19. These gave you pretty cool loot, they were pretty fair and balanced, and they presented a really good challenge which people tried to speedrun, so these are going into A tier as well. PvE encounters in Apex are very few, but usually very fair, although both Titanfall games are the home to a bit more of an iconic robot than the Spectres. The Marvin units. Marvins are a big part of Titanfall 1 and Titanfall 2, not as an enemy, not as a friendly, but dumb little robots that just stand around and have no allegiance. Marvins are present in both single player and multiplayer, and most of the time they are used as comedic relief as you kill them in some sort of horrifying way, or you kind of upset them by taking their weapon without saying thank you. Jack Cooper, I have not forgotten that he didn't say thank you for the arc tool. Additionally, in Titanfall 2, when you leveled up enough, you would unlock a faction called Marvin's Finest Hour, where you would be commanded by a Marvin unit. You couldn't understand a thing he said, but my god, I am fighting for the cause when I'm with this guy. And Marvins actually made their way to Apex in Season 7. Now, of course, Pathfinder is a modified Marvin unit, I don't really care, but actual cute, brainless Marvins came to Olympus in Season 7. As slot machines. These Marvins would point towards a screen on their chest which was circulating between every rarity type in Apex, and if you got lucky upon interacting with them and stopped the spin on a high rarity item, the Marvin would drop you a random item of that rarity, so these are pretty cool. Also, you are genuinely incentivized to kill Marvins in Apex Legends, as some of them have a sparking arm, and when you kill them, they drop a golden Marvin arm, which can be taken to armless Marvins, which guarantees you golden loot. So for me, this firmly places Marvins in A tier, because it's just kind of funny that you are incentivized to kill them after it became a meme not to kill them. Let's polish this tier list off though on the most recent Titanfall adjacent change, because the developers literally said this was a deliberate thing. Obviously, in Season 26, we did not get a major map update, but we got several smaller map updates, which reworked the lighting on maps like Kings Canyon, Stormpoint, and also E-District. E-District seeing the biggest change, where it went from nighttime to daytime. And the daytime appearance, in my opinion, still makes it one of the most beautiful maps in Apex. And the daytime changes also caused Respawn to have to make a new skybox, which is eerily similar to a Titanfall 2 map, Angel City, mostly because of the Angel City in the background, but also the beautiful cityscape. And believe it or not, Respawn said they deliberately tried to make this visually similar to Angel City. So I would say this is another Titanfall inspiration that made it to Apex. And because this map change is so beautiful, it is going into B tier. It's not going into S tier unfortunately though, because E-District still doesn't feel like a very fun map to play on, in my opinion, but my god if it isn't beautiful. But I think it's been clear lately that Apex has been slowly becoming more and more like Titanfall. We've been getting more Titanfall weapons, we've been getting more Titanfall related movement abilities, and Respawn have just been embracing movement more and more, which is a core value of Titanfall. It's great to see the heart of Titanfall still carrying onto Apex, and honestly, this last year for Apex has been great for people who love both Titanfall and Apex, simply because of how close these games are getting to each other now. Seriously, this is Apex gameplay. At points, this is better movement than Titanfall, but don't get me wrong, on a baseline experience, Titanfall does have the best movement in gaming. It's just these clips look pretty damn cool. This is the final tier list though, and let's hope we get more post-launch Titanfall content in Apex.